Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano, editor-in-chief extraordinaire, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network, and also on Instagram Live. Coming live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunker, both North and South Jersey, having it all covered for the Garden State. Nick, can you hear me in the bunker? I feel like I can't hear myself right now.
What? Just kidding.
Can't hear me? You can hear me.
I got you.
That's why I'm shouting. I can't even hear myself.
Well, you don't got to shout at me, Sam. I hear you loud and clear. We're doing good. Listen, here's the thing. I heard a lot of Devils fans complaining about tonight's start, 9:30 puck drop. But the 9:30 puck drop in Chicago gives us a chance to do the State of the Fan Address on our regular Wednesday. It's not regular. We're a little early, but on our regular Wednesday time slot. So instead of having to wait till Thursday to see my beautiful mug, you get me today. So but I'm excited. Sam, now, do you know what grits are famous for?
Down south?
Yeah. Do you know what grits are famous for?
I don't know what they're famous for. They taste good.
Well, they taste good because grits are famous that you can put anything in them. Right. It's you could put butter in them, you could put garlic in them, you could put syrup in them. Well, the Devils are trying to mix jelly with their grits because they put Arseni Gritsyuk on the top line with Jack Hughes, but not just Bratt. See, they tried it with Bratt, Gritsyuk, and Hughes on Monday against the Islanders. And apparently they wanted to try something a little bit different. So they're trying Dawson Mercer, Jack Hughes, and Arseni Gritsyuk, along with a few other changes to the lineup that have brought mixed reaction. Some people really like the changes. Some people are apoplectic to the changes. Some people are really upset about splitting up splitting up Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes. Sam, are you excited to try a little jelly in your grits?
Absolutely I am. Why not? Why not? This is the time to do it. You don't want to wait till the later stages of the season to be starting to experiment. I mean, if you want to experiment, this is the time to do it. Your team is pretty much on the top 5 in the league right now, and you're on the road. Why not try something new?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is that you're facing Chicago, who's played well so far. Connor Bedard has been great, but I think here's the bet I think Sheldon Keefe is making. First, I want to go over a couple stats. At 5-on-5 in the month of November, which it's only 5 games, but it's been 5 frustrating games. In the month of November, there are no players on the Devils that have more than 1 goal at even strength this month. None. There's one player who has more than 1 point, and that's Jack Hughes at 5-on-5, and he has 2. Every other player has 1 or 0 points at 5-on-5 the last 5 games. The offense needs a jump start. In the last game, they scored 1 power play goal from Timo Meier, and they scored 1 6-on-5 goal from Simone Nemeth on a blast from the blue line. The offense is not good enough right now, which is surprising because all the injuries are on the defense. And the guys who aren't injured on the defense, Simone Nemeth and Luke Hughes among them, are the guys who are supposed to bring the offense. So I like this lineup change because, one of the main culprits of the lack of offense is the complete disappearance of the Nico Hischier line. Like, even against the Islanders, Jack Hughes had 11 shots, and 6 of them were high danger chances. Sorokin just stoned him. And he also got stoned by Silvas on Sunday, and then who was in net for Montreal?
Montreal.
It wasn't Montembeau, right? It was the other guy.
Yeah. Shoot, it starts with the D.
Oh, I can't. Dobus.
Yeah, Dobus. Well, I'm mutilated.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Jack Hughes just keeps getting robbed. I'm not worried about Jack Hughes' line. Like they're providing offensive opportunities.
Dobish.
Heischer's line's not even getting the opportunities. And I think I think the reason for it is that he's facing the other team's top line constantly. And that's become a narrative because somebody put out a tweet today talking about how Hischier shouldn't be in the Selke discussion and Nick Suzuki should. And that's just we can have that conversation later. I want to talk about Hischier's offensive capabilities and what's going on there. He's facing McDavid every shift, especially at home. He's always facing McDavid. He's always facing McKinnon. He's always facing Cole Caulfield. He's always facing Bo Horvat in the last game. He's always facing the top guys. And you got to remember, like I mentioned before, the defensemen you have are Simone Nemec is your top right-handed defenseman right now. You're playing 10 minutes with Dennis Cholowski, and Colton White right now. You know what I mean? So it's a problem where I think the forwards are being asked to make up for the issues and the injuries that you have on defense, but especially that second line, that Nico Hischier line. So what I'm hoping what I think is going to happen here is Jesper Bratt is a playmaker connoisseur, and he's somebody who could get the puck out of the zone and start the breakout. He's done it so many times with Jack Hughes. He's right there one for one with him. I think the hope is that when they do get quote unquote pinned down there, Jesper Bratt could turn defense into offense better than Dawson Mercer could, which I think is true. Dawson Mercer, on the other hand, is better at creating offense when they're already in the offensive zone. So, I think that's why they originally had Stefan Nason in there, is you thought he was going to be a net front presence. Jackie was going to get the puck in the offensive zone. He's going to do it whether it's by, starting the faceoff there or whatever the case may be. Mercer is a guy who has offensive skill more than Nason, more than Palat, more than those other guys. But he still is not afraid to be a net front presence and is willing to just kind of park himself there when he needs to. And then obviously Gritsyuk. I think that's what you want with Gritsyuk. See, when you have Hughes and Bratt together, they're fantastic on breaking out. I think you should keep them together on the penalty kill, because I think that works really well. Once you get in the offensive zone, you can double team Jack Hughes. You just put 2 guys on him, and Bratt isn't going to shoot that often. I'd have to look at his shot numbers. Like, he shoots, he scores goals, but like you're just gonna. It's like if I'm facing Micah Parsons on one side, and somebody like Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side. I'm going to double team Micah Parsons. I guess I could have just done Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm going to double team Brian Burns and hope Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't hurt me. I know Kayvon Thibodeau can do it, but Brian Burns is a superstar. Probably a bad analogy, but it worked in my head. I think that the Devils are hoping putting Gritsyuk on that line now makes that second guy in Jack Hughes cheat, because they know Gritsyuk can shoot. Gritsyuk is a sniper. They know Gritsyuk can make a play. He's done it multiple times already this year. He's 24 years old. So you can't double team Jack Hughes like you could, where you're just kind of like, Brad's going to pass it back. So if it goes over there, that's fine. It'll go back to Jack. Now you got an aggressive shooter in Gritsyuk who, they have to build some chemistry. I'm a little worried about that. Like, is there going to be some frustration there from Jack Hughes' part where Gritsyuk is taking shots that maybe he doesn't think he should? But that's like jumping to a problem that doesn't exist yet. So I think that this line really works. Putting Brett on Heischer's line will allow them to get offense from the defensive zone. It allows them to have three really skilled wingers together. I don't think that Mercer's unskilled, but I think that like he plays a very distinct role, while Brett can play a different type of role. And I'm curious if this means that Keefe isn't going to rely so heavily on Hischier against those top lines. Is he willing to put Brett, like your three of your four best forwards, is he willing to put them one-on-one against Bedard every shift this game? He doesn't have much. He doesn't have as much of a choice this time because they're on the road and Chicago gets last change. I think he's going to try it, but I also think the return of Cody Glass really helps. Glass is really good at those matchups as well. I don't think he loves what it looks like without Brown, right? Because what is it now? It's Palat, it's Glass, and it's Nason. Is that what it is?
I'm looking right now. Hold on.
I think it's Palat, Nason, and Glass, and that's just not nearly as good a defensive line as, say, even Palat, Glass, and Brown is going to be. No offense to Nason. Nason's a good player, but he kind of like, I wrote about this before the season. When this lineup is healthy, like Nason kind of doesn't make sense. He's a guy who's opportunistic, but slow. I think he's great on the power play. Like, it's great to have him for that. But at 5-on-5, it's kind of like weird to find a place for him. I think the fourth line is where he's going to end up, especially when the Donov comes back. I think I think there's a non-zero chance that Nason gets healthy scratch a couple times this year just for matchup purposes. Like, nothing against him. I don't think he's going to have a bad season. But they're going to play matchups, and there's going to come a time where you have to look at it and be like, are we going to bench are we going to bench Paul Cotter or are we going to bench Steven Nason? And you're going to have those decisions you're going to have to make. And, I'm like thinking of the lineup. I'm trying to think of who else they could bench, but that's kind of like where they're at. I like the new lineup. I think that it's good for business, so to say. I think that the offense is going to be better under it. But also, I had to remind people it's November 12th. There's dozens, or what is it, 20 more weeks of the season? So there's a lot of weeks of the season to go. They're going to try some stuff. We don't want to get too high or low on the decisions they make right now unless it's a trade. Like, even like sending people down and stuff like that. Like, I don't get too high on it because, and Sheldon Keefe will admit his mistake quickly. He will if this doesn't work in the first period, he's gonna abandon it and go back to what was working or what was getting them wins, even if it was theoretically not quote unquote working. So I think the Devils are right to try some things on offense. What do you think, Sam?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Devils season started on October 9th. This season. It's November 12th, so you were, 33 days in? Of course we're going to try different things, the Devils. This is why I like the first line. And I think they'll be successful, Hughes, Mercer, and Gritsyuk. You talked about the double teaming. I'm looking at both Mercer and Gritsyuk on the wings. They've got some amazing reach with their sticks, especially forechecking. Plus, Jack defensively is kind of like a thief back there. If you're gonna have Gritsyuk and Mercer forechecking hard, and you have Jack just lurking, he can pick pockets very easily. The other thing too is both of them are pretty fast on the wings, and Mercer can go in and muck it up. Gritsyuk can be a sniper. They both can buzz. I'm just again, it all comes down to team chemistry. Can they communicate with each other? You got 2 North Americans and 1 Russian. Can they communicate, in this first game? But just the way they, Mercer and Gritsyuk, the way they use their sticks, I mean, they have a long reach. And I think that's going to make the biggest difference, on that line. And then with Jack being on the first line and then Brat on the second line, you've got 2 lines that have zone entry skaters with Brat on one line and Jack. They're going to be entering the zone with ease for at least the 2 lines.
Yeah. I think again, I think the original thought was that you put 2 players unlike Jack with Jack and let Jack be Jack. I think this thought process is, what if we get somebody who's kind of similar to him? What's that look like? And you want to know. Again, I think there's a non-zero chance that Jack Hughes himself will hate this. Not that he hates it now, but like when he gets on the ice, it's like, oh, this it's working like oil and water, or it's like 2 North Pole atoms or North Pole magnets trying to hit each other. It just doesn't click. So I'm using too many idioms today, or too many whatevers. I can't even think of the things that I was trying to say. Anyway,
don't overcomplicate
comparisons. Brain to work too. I've written too many words the past couple of days. I just want to make it a point that the offense has been bad. Truly, the offense has been bad. Like, just straight up. They scored 1 goal against Pittsburgh, and it was unassisted. It was Arseni Gritsyuk just doing something amazing. They scored 2 goals against the Islanders. Now, that wasn't their fault. Statistically, analytically, the numbers say they should have scored 5, and Sorokin was just out of his mind. That happens some nights. I'm glad you got the point. I think everybody left the Rock. You tell me, did everybody leave the Rock pretty happy on Monday?
Well, yeah, a lot of them had Veterans Day off, so the party kept on going at American Whiskey. I can tell you that. So I think people were happy that they didn't come out empty-handed. They got 1 point. Everybody knew that the streak eventually will end, but they
looked good. They played a good game, and just those things happen. And they're 11-4-1, right? That's the record right now.
Yeah,
it's hard to be upset. The problem is the Metro's too good. Not even the Metro. The East is too good. So you're still. Let's see. I'm trying to see let me pull up the standings real quick. And for those wondering, I am dealing with a little bit of a cold, so my voice is probably. I don't know if it's sexy or terrible, but it's probably somewhere in between. The Devils are 11-4-1, and they're still only 5 points ahead of the Islanders, who are the last team out.
That's crazy.
The Devils theoretically could go on a 3-game losing streak and be at the bottom of the standings. So you don't want to rest on your laurels. You don't want to kind of chill and sit back and be like, it'll figure itself out. You kind of have to be aggressive this season. And I commend the the Devils for doing that. Man, something weird's happening in Tampa. I'm just gonna real quick. I know this is a podcast, but the Tampa Rangers game right now is 4-3 Rangers. The Rangers have 9 shots. everything is going in for the Rangers. They're just throwing it at the net and it's going in.
Are they in Tampa or are they in?
They're in Tampa.
Well, that's why.
And Tampa has 5 defensemen out, including Hedman, including like 2 of their top guys. So, but yeah, they're just throwing things at the net and it's going in. Good for them, but still only up by 1. Lightning have 19 shots and they're on the power play right now. But anyway, we don't have to do play-by-play. But that's I just saw I was looking at the standings and that came up and I just had that's just an insane game happening right now. The Devils. I will say this: I think the Devils are gonna be fine. There's too much offensive talent for this to continue, but I think Keefe saw that he was sacrificing a little too much, and he's done that in the past. He's a guy who prioritizes defense, prioritizes keeping the guys off the board over scoring. But you still got to score goals to win games. And your goalies aren't playing terrifically right now. I think Markstrom was fine on Monday. He was fine. I wouldn't say it was a good game. But he's fine. I think if he plays like that, you're going to win on most nights. My problem with Markstrom is he's overcommitting. That's what caused the tying goal. I know we blame Cotter's penalty, and we blame, I think Dylan is the guy it bounced off of. But if Markstrom doesn't overcommit to the shot and slides out of the crease, he's going to get back in time to stop it. But it's fine. He did this after the injury in last January. When did he come back? He came back in March, right? Last year?
Yeah.
It was March.
Yep.
When he came back in March, he was overcommitting. And I don't know if it's something where he doesn't want to stress his lower body. And I think there's a little bit of that right now where it's like he knows it's a long season. I don't need to do this so often. So he's kind of letting these things stretch out a little bit. And I think it's a problem in the micro. In the macro, I don't have an issue with it if he doesn't do it later in the season. If he's doing it now to kind of stretch himself out and to kind of avoid, stopping on a dime on those ligaments, okay. But I do want to point out that I noticed it. It's the overcommit, and maybe it's not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe he made a mistake. He was overcommit. Or, the other thing I was thinking was maybe he was trying to knock the puck into the corner. He hasn't had good rebound control at all since he came back from injury. And maybe he's trying to overcompensate for that by kicking the rebounds through sheer force and trying to get them to places that way instead of kind of subtly controlling them, which he's been really good at in the past. So just a couple of things I've noticed. This team desperately needs reinforcements. The forward lines look much better with Connor Glass. Great to have him back. And he looks good. My worry was that when he came back from injury last year, he looked terrible. He looks good. So, excuse me, I think that's a good sign. You need Hamilton back because you're just, Luke Hughes is playing 26 minutes a night. And he's making mistakes because of it. He's frustrated. And I think that's where the spinorama came from that caused was it the Horvat goal? The spinorama that caused the Horvat goal, you saw him get back, and he was more frustrated with the referee than he was urgent to get back. I think that he's just playing too much. He's young, and I do think he has a different mindset than Nemitz. It's, I don't want to get into people's heads. It's dangerous to do that. He's a very skilled player, and I think he's going to be good for a really long time. But you had a kid who just went through a pretty hard negotiation to start the season, played no preseason games, and is now playing on his offhand because basically he needs to be protected. I think there's some frustration there. So I would say The first thing I would do, Sam, I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'm trying to, just cut me off if you ever need to. But one quick thing, and I want your opinion on this. I want to put Simone Nemec on the first line power play. I want to put Luke Hughes on the second line power play. Let me tell you why.
Logically, it makes sense, but there's a lot of. You would demote a Hughes brother down to the PP2?
I have 4 reasons for this, and they're backed by evidence. Let's start with the positives for Nemec. Nemec is the best defenseman we have, other than Hamilton, at keeping the zone. He's just incredible at it. Like, he's really good at keeping the zone because he has a little bit of desperation to his game that almost to the point of unnecessarily, it's almost unnecessary how desperate he is, but it works. It works for him. He's a grade A pincher, and I'm not talking about getting your cootie shots in first grade. He pinches very well. He's he knows when to jump up, and at 5-on-5 it gets him in trouble. On the power play, you kind of expect that kind of play, and I think it would really help with the cycle if he got involved down low. So that's 2. 3. I think they were both on the ice for Myers' goal. So that's the second time this season that the Hughes brothers have been on the ice together for a power play goal. Second time. Just the second time. Jack Hughes has been on the ice for 7 other power play goals with Dougie Hamilton or somebody else on the ice playing defense. Luke Hughes has been on the ice for 3 other power play goals. So both of them have been incredibly productive away from each other and have been largely unproductive together. And then my 4th point, and it was proven on Monday, Simone Nemec. I'll start with this. I don't think if Luke Hughes took that shot on Monday, I don't think that the Devils get a point. His shot is not getting through. I don't know why. I'd have to do a deeper analysis in it. But I know that Simone Nemec's shot gets through. And it did again on Monday. And it's just, that's 4 pretty direct reasons why I think Simone Nemec at the point on power play 1 will lead to goals. Honestly, Sam, I might keep it when Hamilton's back. Because I think Nemec is better than Hamilton at getting the puck through because Hamilton has not been nearly as good since he came back from that pec injury at shooting from the point. He's much better this season than he was last season, which is an encouraging sign. But he's not. He was maybe the best in the league in 2022-23 at getting that shot through from the point. It's like him and Carlson are the guys you're looking at. Maybe Burns. Those guys with the big booming shots. I'm sure there's other guys like I don't know what McCarr's like. I know Hughes kind of does it. Quinn Hughes does it a little bit differently. I think Adam Fox does it a little bit differently about how they get their assists. It's incredibly effective, but I don't think it's with the booming shot. Hamilton's shot is up there top 3 in 2022-23. Wasn't there the last 2 years. So
I agree with you, but I kind of disagree with you putting Nemec on PP1. And here's why.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a liability, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of shorthanded chances going the other way.
There already are chances the other way.
Yeah, but he doesn't get back. There are times he just does not get back.
Yeah, Luke Hughes is better at getting back, for sure. And he's faster.
Yeah, and then, but I do agree with you offensively. I think his shots would get through. It's not a knock on Luke, but I just see that Nemec
kind of a knock on Luke.
Yeah, but
this is a big part of a defenseman's game is getting shots through, and he's not doing it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. I just foresee that it'll backfire. If you put Nemec on PP1, it's a high risk, high reward move, but it could go back the other way. He simply, there are times where he just doesn't get back, and if you're putting 4 forwards in, and Nemitz on the point, and he loses the point, he doesn't get back. I'm not saying he's not fast or he doesn't have the speed. It's just for whatever reason
he relies on Dylan a lot to kind of take that role, and I've seen him puck watch while controller turned off, skating into the zone, and he does have to he needs a little bit of urgency getting back in the defensive zone.
But
but
he showed, like the other game against Pittsburgh, in overtime, he got back in desperation and made a heck of a play to chip the puck to Jack. So I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability. It's just there are times where it's like, Nemitz, where you're not even on the camera angle, like you're not even on film.
I wonder if it's because you're right. I wonder if he's misinterpreting his role. Where I mean, if you're the only defenseman on the ice, you have to get back. There's no other thing you should be doing other than getting back. So that's why that happened in overtime. Like, he knows he's the only guy to do that. So maybe in the power play, he would have that same mindset. Like, I'm the guy, I have to get back. Like, there's no Dylan, there's no Pesci, there's no Siegenthaler. I'm the guy. So I do like him with Siegenthaler, by the way. I think him and Siegenthaler make a little bit more sense. Like, Dylan has been having an incredible season. And Dylan actually spoke to JP, who we had on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So go check out Devil's Advocates, because Brendan Dillon spoke to him directly. We gotta start asking for players. I gotta get bigger on my ass, Sam. I apologize. I gotta get that big ask. But anyway,
well,
I kind of went off the deep end there. But I think that the Devils power play is gonna be really good. Again, they just have to there's just this kink that they need to work out. I'll say this. When Hamilton comes back, and I think he's going to come back on the third game of this road, or the fourth game of this road trip. I don't think, everybody's worried that Hamilton and Brown aren't making the trip. Apparently Brown did a signing last weekend. They don't let really injured guys do signings. Mm-hmm. They just don't. They would have pulled him. They did it with, I think, Heischer a couple years ago, where they pulled him from a signing. So the fact that they let him do the signing, and he told somebody that he felt good, and that he expected to be back soon. I think he's being held out just to kind of So what I think happened is he felt good. He's a little too honest. It was I don't feel as good. When he woke up the next day, there was some more soreness than there was. So they took a step back. And it happens. It's part of the healing process. If it was the playoffs, there's no doubt he's playing. But it's not. It's November 12th. So I think it's kind of a slow play because of that.
Yeah, Robert Isaacson saying, yes, Nemitz is best paired with a strong veteran, defenseman.
Sure. But the power play is a different animal. It's just there's a different point to it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get, hemmed in your zone, right? I'd be worried about that more than the 2-on-1s. But I just don't think that that's a concern.
Yeah. Well, I gave you my opinion.
I mean, they're not doing it, Sam, so it doesn't matter. We're speaking to ourselves, to the audience.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think Luke is that bad. I don't think he's that bad on the power play.
I don't like the way it looks. I think he's too. He passes to his brother too much, and I don't think Jack is playing like that. I don't think Jack is playing like that. I think Jack is passing to his defenseman, and Luke is passing to his brother. And what I mean by that is Jack always passes to Dougie. It's kind of this thing where it's I need to reestablish and figure out which way I can attack. Take this for a second, Dougie, and give it back to me. But sometimes Doug will go to Jesper if it makes more sense. Or go to Nico. Or go to, Dawson or whoever's out there if it makes more sense. I'm seeing Luke just say, I have the puck, it has to go back to Jack. Or I have the puck, it's supposed to go to Jesper. Like, he doesn't react. He's formulaic with how he's going about it.
I'm gonna have to watch that. Dubs is like when Dougie gets back, needs to be on PP1, but there should no discussion about it.
Oh, you're listening to a podcast, man. We're gonna have a discussion about it. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
But I will say,
but
though,
here's the thing, Sam.
But here's the difference. Let me finish. Here's the difference. Nemitz and Dougie are righties. Luke is a lefty.
Yeah. Yep.
There is a difference.
Yeah, there's some weirdness there. I'll tell you this, Sam. I will accept Dougie on Power Play 1, but I want Luke and Nemitz on Power Play 2.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, because think about it. Then you get so you have Nason, you'd have Nason, Meyer, Gritsyuk. Well, you'd be missing a center. So you'd probably do Gritsyuk, Meyer, Glass, Nemitz, Hughes. You wouldn't have to worry about Palat being on power play. I like what Palat does on the power play, but he can't finish. And it kind of ruins the whole gimmick. He's so good at offensive zone turnovers. He might be, next to Jack and Gritsyuk, he might be the best guy on the team at offensive zone turnovers. But he might be the worst finisher on the team, including defensemen. I trust Siegenthaler to finish more than Palat right now. He just can't finish. And I don't know if it's in his head or if he's just lost the ability. But, I can't have a non-finisher on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we got a few more minutes. Nick?
I want to... Can we switch gears real quick?
Yeah, switch gears.
How concerned are you about Utica? And I want to... Culturally. As, how I guess this is more of a large scale. How concerned are you about the AHL team sucking every year? Because I'm concerned this year. This was a good team that sucks still.
Who's coaching?
It's Ryan Perrant. He was the guy who replaced what was his name last year?
Kevin Dineen.
He replaced Dineen. And they just kind of gave him the job. Didn't agree with it. Didn't like it. I'm not. You know me. I'm never going to advocate for a firing. But they gotta fix this. You can't. They have 2 wins this year. They're the worst team in the league. This team, what's his name? Haminaho got his first goal, and they still lost 6-2 yesterday in their big Veterans Day game. This is their big game. They do this every year. They have special jerseys. The jerseys were cool. I asked Ben Burnell, who's a friend of the podcast and works for the Sentinel out there. He says that they're struggling to find consistency. PK, power play, total goals ranked near the bottom of all of the 32 teams. They make mistakes, and every time they make mistakes, they seem up as goals. You have a really good prospect in Nico Dodds who dominates every time he comes to the NHL. You have multiple really good forward prospects in Haminaho, in LeChance, in Crookshank, in Bordelot, in Perrant, in you have a couple really good guys. Hallinan, I know he wasn't there for a lot of it, but he's back now. You have a couple really good defensemen in Vian and Casey and Addison. Addison's a guy who was in the NHL for a while. So you have experience, you have skill. I don't understand what's missing. Like, something's wrong with this team. Clearly. Like, you only have 2 wins.
I don't know. I always felt that when they moved to Utica, they went Binghamton Devils to Utica Comets. I just feel there's an identity crisis.
Yeah, but you got to fix it, right?
Well, of course.
It has to be fixed.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
They were good when they were Vancouver's affiliate. And those guys were traveling across, they're going from Utica, New York to Vancouver to get to the NHL. Now you're going down to Jersey.
I got to get up there to see what this is all about before I can comment. I haven't paid attention to Utica, to be honest. Nothing to really look at other than they lose every night.
If they were losing these high-powered offenses and, I think Jacob Malik, I think I'm saying his name wrong, but Malik is winless. He's getting shelled every night. I think you're really hurting the development of your guys. The Devils have had a development problem for a while. And I don't know who's responsible. Is that Dugan's job? Megan Dugan?
I would assume so. I mean, honestly, when Harris Blitzer took over, apparently they put all this investment in scouting and analytics and all that. And talking about development, I mean, other than maybe one season under Dineen, have they ever won anything significant?
No, and even that one season under Dineen, they lost in the first or second round.
Yeah, I think it was first round that one year.
Yeah, they made it to the second round, or no, they won like a play-in round. They won one round, I think, since they moved to Utica, and that was years ago now.
I mean, what was the rationale to move to Utica? Is just a better financial deal for the Devils?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. It was money. Hold on. Trying to figure out who. Madigan's the assistant general manager.
Well, while you're looking at
Eric Weinrich is the player development coach, but I don't know if he deals with prospects. And then Megan Dugan's the director of player development. It's been a bad start for development. Anton Silyev looks terrible. Or not terrible, but he looks like he's in the wrong place right now for his development. Mm-hmm. Fonderk and Kevin and Mason Moe have had nothing's popped for them in college. They've been fine. I think Fonderk has 4 points in 9 or 10 games. I think Kevin's I think he has 3 goals, 9 or 10 games. I think Mo has 3 or 4 points. So I'm thinking, they're it's fine. But Mikhail Igorov is having a terrible season in Boston. I don't know if you've noticed but he's having. I think he's like a. Last I checked, he's an 888 save percentage. Now, Boston has played, some of the top teams in the league to start the year. But I want Yegorov to play well against those teams. So he's had some rough goes. And honestly, he's taken his eye off the ball. They played Merrimack this weekend, who's not one of the, Merrimack College is not one of the best teams in the league. He almost got ejected, which I wrote about on pucksandpitchforks.com. So if you're curious of why, go check it out. But he almost got ejected. He lost his cool, and then his team still went up 5-2, and he let 2 goals in the last 2 minutes to make it 5-4, or 2 goals in the last 3 minutes, maybe 2 goals in the last 2.5 minutes. He made some big saves. I do think, from what I hear, his defense is letting him down. But still, all of these top prospects, and you have you have LeChance and you have Haminahu. Haminahu just got his first point or his first goal. today or yesterday. I am slightly concerned. I thought the Devils were going to have coffers of young players to replace guys that they needed to replace, and this year's just a concerning year. You think about guys like Josh Fellman and Cam Squires, guys you thought were going to be late round gems, not even gems, like late round contributors, and both of them are in Adirondack, in the ECHL,
which is wild.
Not what you want. It's not what you want at all. So are you telling me to do this? Because I can. I kind of forgot what the plan was. So am I going till 9?
Well, we need 5-10 minutes to set up Game Day Live.
Oh, so you're telling me to do this? You telling me to wrap?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
letting you know what. I was actually just letting you know what the time was. I wasn't telling you anything. We have a few minutes.
I didn't know if you want. Yeah, I didn't realize. I didn't remember. Anyway, we can wrap. Listen, that's it. I think. Why don't you keep this in mind? Because if we have, I want to try to get a big guest for next week. So I'm going to shoot for the moon. If we get the moon guy I want to talk to him about Nico Hischier and the Selke, because that's the conversation right now. I think people, you're going to love this, Sam. The charts are stupid right now. Analytics are dumb because people will take a chart and say Nico Hischier's bad at defense. Well, I know that's not true. I know he's not one of the worst defensive forwards in the league, but they're ignoring the context. They're ignoring a lot of things, and I think, we'll have that conversation next week because it would take more than a couple of minutes I have. So why don't we do plugs?
Yeah, why don't you plug, Nick?
Pucksandpitchforks.com. We have a lot of things on it right now. I wrote a piece earlier today about my thoughts on the changes to the lineup. I also wrote, there was a podcast who was talking about some hypothetical trades. They had 3 trades between the Devils and the Canucks. They were all massive overpays on the Devils front. The Devils aren't going to overpay. If the Canucks need an overpay, Vegas or Florida or somebody else is going to do it. Or Toronto. Toronto might do it. Toronto, I think, is the one you have to really worry about. But anyway, so I wrote about that. People need to calm down about their asks in the Quinn Hughes deal. I wrote about the NHL just created a new office in Europe. I think that's really important to the Devils. So I wrote about that. We wrote about Alex Mogilny. He got inducted in the Hall of Fame this week. We wrote about Sheldon Keefe and how we think he might be the top. After Brian Daboll's firing, RIP to you, Sam, to your Giants. After his firing, we kind of looked at the coaches that are in the New York, New Jersey area, and I think Sheldon Keefe might be the top guy. But we wrote about Zach McEwen and how well he's looked. He's back for one game, but he just looks like a perfect fit for this roster. And then we wrote about the loss on the island. But I'm I'm gonna let tonight's game dictate what I write about tonight. There's a lot coming. And there's a trade rumor. Apparently Tom Fitzgerald is hitting the phones already. And there's a former Devil that was specifically named by an insider. So we're going to have an article on our thoughts about that up on pucksandpitchforks.com tonight, Sam.
Wow. Biggie Ribs says, us NJ port drivers love you, Sam and Nick. Thank you.
We appreciate the port drivers. We need you guys. It's
oh
my grandfather was a port driver for a time. Not an easy job. We appreciate it because you're keeping the world going.
Yeah, especially garbage people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Anyway, alrighty, so we're going to get out of here. Thank you, Nick. Thank you to all those tuning in. Game Day Live will be on in about 5 minutes, but we got some technical snafu that we got to work out. So hopefully in about 5 minutes, set your alerts. We're going to have Game Day Live coming to you, myself and Beer Baron. We'll go live shortly. So we're going to end this podcast, dropping the podcast probably around 10 o'clock Eastern. But we got the game, 9:30 p.m. Eastern today. So going to get out of here. But thank you, Nick. Thank you to everybody. Until next time, let's go Devils.